she was killed. And they tried
top
to
six
cover it
girls
up.
really look great, but you seem to have that perfect aesthetic.
I wasn't
look.
into hip hop or even soul music.
There are definitely people that need a little Viagra.
You're funny.
Like I said, do you like my tail?
Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Iron Rage. I am here with one of the original giant killers himself, Lee Priest, who actually clarified that in order to be a giant killer, you have to slay the giants. That's the open bodybuilders. When you mentioned that on the show the other day, and you said that Sean Clarita really wasn't a giant killer because he really hadn't beaten any open guys, I noticed that Sean responded by doing and entering into this upcoming weekend's Legion's Sports Fest in the open class. So, Lee, you're actually making a difference.
Well, before I do, you're making a difference, Dave. I came in on the end of your last interview.
Yes.
And he was talking about Fiberlyze, and I just so happened, this is how I wanted to start the show off today.
I forgot you had it.
Because now I've been having it like, look, that's why I want to talk about it again, because as he was saying too, people in the comments rag you about it, and he mentioned Metamucil, and I used to use Metamucil thinking it was great and everything, but I started using this, and this is by far better. I feel better, feel more empty. And like you said, you save money on fucking toilet paper. This is the best thing. You only need the pad, and it's clean. Yeah, so people, I know you rag on Dave for advertising and stuff, and it's like Dave said, he's not pushing it because it's his. He's pushing it because it works, and he wants you to get the best for it to work. So before you bag it out, go try it, and I guarantee you'll be a repeat customer because, you know.
How do you tell me how you do it? What's your methodology? Like, I mix it in 6 ounces of water and gulp it down. Do you have any other?
Yeah, I just get a cup like this first thing in the morning when I get up about 4 o'clock. Put a scoop in a glass like that and drink it, and that's me. Sometimes I might have a little bit during the day because it tastes good, but normally just one a day, and I'm regular as anything and feel great. Stomach feels good, and go to the toilet. You actually feel better because you're not feeling sluggish and stuff. If people say Dave gives them the shits, buy this because this will give you the shits, but you'll feel better for it. So, yes, I had that ready to go, and he was even talking about it. So, yes, I used to waste my money on Metamucil. And, yes, you do think Metamucil works until you get a better product and you realize Metamucil shit, and this is far better.
Well,
so,
Lee, when I first decided to put the product out, I did a lot of research. I didn't want to put out something that someone already had, and I had used sugar-free Metamucil also prior to this. And when I was doing research, and I found that there were different grades of psyllium, and I said when I went to the manufacturers, I had them send me all the different grades because there's the one that's the lowest swell rate is a lot cheaper than the high swell rate. So I tried them all, and there was a world. It was so different from one to the other that I said, "Oh my God, no wonder why Metamucil can sell a little cheaper because they're obviously not using the high swell rate." And then I saw the difference, and when you put water in the Fiberlyze, you see how much it swells. You don't have to take my word for it. You'll see it yourself.
Well, that's the thing, though. Like you said, if you don't know any different, if you just use Metamucil, yes, you think it does work. You think this ain't bad. It makes me go, but after using yours, Metamucil's like shit.
All right.
Now,
giant killers.
Yes, giant killers. Now, let me start by saying this. I think Sean Clarita is great. I love his physique. He's freaky. He looks like a miniature Ronnie Coleman. I've always rooted for him. I think I met him at the Strong and Shapely gym once. I got a photo with him. And I've always think he's great. But then it came down to the giant killer thing. And I simply just said, to be a giant killer, you got to kill giants. Boy, did I get attacked. Lee, he's beat people 20 pounds, 30 pounds heavier. I said, they can be 40 pounds heavier, but if you're all the same height roughly, if he's 5'3", 5'4", he beats someone 5'5". Well, look at me when I was 285. No one ever said, fuck, Lee's a giant. They said he's freaky. It's like when Sean Clarita won the 212 last year, the people that got second and third, did somebody say he beat Derek, he's a giant? Did he beat? No, because you're not a giant. Giants are ones 5'10", 5'11", Ronnie Coleman's, Marcus Rules. So yes, he's going into the Open. Maybe we might have helped him get there by talking about this, but it's like I said, the storyline of Jack and the Beanstalk. If Jack had climbed up that beanstalk, and the guy up there was the same height as Jack, they wouldn't have said he killed the giant, would they? They would have said, "Oh, Jack killed Bob, who was up the top of the beanstalk." Because he was so big, he was a giant. That's what a giant killer is. Now, so he's going to go in the Open, which I hope he does well. I saw your review. You said maybe top 4 or 5. But look, I'm hoping he'll get top 3. I think he can. And then, but also, I'm thinking if some of those top guys who are up there, if they just slip a little bit due to Sean's conditioning, there's no reason why Sean can't get second or even first if some of these guys slip. Well, look, I won 5 pro shows. There was many shows I was second and third, and fourth was Ronnie, third was Ronnie.
Right. Imagine if Sean beat a guy like Sergio Oliva Jr., who's like 280. That would be now he's all of a sudden an official giant killer after that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, look, even when I won the San Fran, I was 199. Cormier was second to 260, so there's a 61-pound difference.
Wow.
I beat, what was the pound? I would have been around the 200 when I beat Marcus Rule quite a few times, and he was 270. Right. If you look through all my last contests, nearly every guy I beat was a lot bigger compared to me.
Well, you were the shortest guy, aside from, I guess you were even shorter than Sean Ray, but I guess beating Sean Ray wouldn't make you a giant killer.
No. See, like say there was a 212 class, I'd never be expected to be called a giant killer because, you had Denny Padilla back in the day. Right. There was Momo Benaziza.
David Henry beat a lot of open guys too. So
Dave Henry. There was Vince Comerford.
Right.
He done a few. So so now they're the giant killers. And now I even wrote on his page the other day because someone goes, "Oh, he's doing the Open just because people talk shit." Someone tagged me. Well, you mean Lee Priest? I said, I've never talked shit about Sean. Like I said, I think he's a wonderful bodybuilder. And I even said, fingers crossed he does well and beats these guys so he can go down in history of being a true giant killer in the history of bodybuilding. So
right.
I'm all for him going into the Open and proving himself because I think how he looks with the density and his conditioning and stuff, I think he can do some real damage, even if guys are in shape. But, if any of those big names, like I said, just slip a little bit, I can see him being in the top 2. So,
what would you say would make someone considered a giant killer? How short do you have to actually be to be called a giant killer? 5'5", under 5'5"? What's the cutoff in terms of being a giant killer?
I think generally when you look at most of them, Padilla I think is roughly my height. I'd say around the 5'5" mark, 5'5" and under. Mm. If you're like 5'5" and under and you're beating guys 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", 6 foot, and they're all outweighing you 50, 60, because that's what someone said to me before. But Lee is a giant killer because the guys he's beating are 20, 30 pounds heavy in the 212. I said, yeah, but that's weight. It's not like they're heavier. They're not like
it's
giants.
Height. It's the height that's the important thing.
Yeah. Well, look at Derek. Derek looks fantastic. Derek just won the 212, but you wouldn't call Derek a giant. You can say they look freaky and they got look this and look that. Yeah, I was always called freaky. I was never
right,
called,
but Derek wouldn't be a giant killer either because he's too tall to be a giant killer if he goes into the Open, in other words.
Yeah, if he goes into the Open and beats the Open guys, then you're a giant killer. So, like I said...
Is Bonac a giant killer?
I'd say yes. Yes, because he's only like, what, 5'6", is he? Or
yeah, something like that, I think. He might be more. I don't know. I don't really know what his hair makes him a little taller, too, because he's got the big thing.
He'd be borderline, but I think true giant killers also come down to that... I'm not sure what Bonac weighs. If you're more around, like I said, the 5'5" and under range, and you're sitting 200 pounds or under, around that 200-pound mark, and you're beating guys 260 who are like 6 foot or, people like that, then you're a true giant killer going on height and weight. But, yes, as like I said before, you got to slay the giants, Dave. You can't be in the 212 playing with the dwarfs and be called a fucking giant killer.
You know who is a giant killer? You remember Marvin Ward?
Yes, he was.
Marvin Ward won the Team Universe overall as a bantamweight, right?
I think we're missing
or as a lightweight.
We're probably missing a few, really, when we think back.
He was 4'11", Marvin Ward. And he had perfect symmetry, too. He was like Lee Haney, looked like.
Well, what is Sean's actual height? Is he like 5'2" or 5'1"? I'm not sure his actual height. I don't want to ask him. I'm not sure. I'm not saying that. I'm not being like that doing something because I'm 5'5" and a half, and people go, "Why do you say that, Lee?" I say, because when I go to my doctor to do my 6-month blood, they always stare me against the wall. But if I go in that men's physique class, the classic class, I could go up half an inch by the sound of that. You can go up
You'd
and
have
down.
to weigh.
in height
You'd have
there.
to weigh 176 probably at your height. You know.
Oh, shit, I'd be shredded, wouldn't I?
Oh,
God.
yeah, you should. Maybe that's what you should come back at.
Well, I'm not really doing anything now. I'm just eating normal. I'm about 228 now. How am I going to get down to 170 odd?
Yeah, but you know these remember the middleweights back in the day in the 90s? They would go from 220 in the off season and they would go down to 176. I don't know how they ever did it. It was unbelievable the transformation.
Do you mean like me going from 285 to 199?
Well, you were fat at 285, but some of these guys were not that fat at 220, you know?
My body fat was 18% when I had the calipers done. It was just fluid.
You were probably
Fluid,
holding
Dave.
20 pounds of water, though, too, to start. You probably lost 20 pounds the first week you dieted.
Now, actually, the first 2 weeks of my diet, I dropped 15 to almost 20 pounds of fluid once I cut out all the junk food, the high processed foods and that. My face would go from big. The thing is, I used to have a lot of dairy products. That's when I was drinking milk all the time. So as soon as I cut milk out, the face, everything just sunk in. So
Now, I noticed you are wearing a Sergio Oliva Jr. victory shirt, which
yes.
Does that mean you're rooting for Sergio this weekend at the Legion Sports Fest?
I am, yes.
Oh, okay.
I like Sergio.
So you're not rooting for the Giant Killer then?
Yes, I am too. But, I just think if Sergio's in shape, Sean might have a hard job. But actually, I said to Sergio, because Sergio posted on something yesterday. He goes, if I get beat by him, I'm retiring. So I said, Sergio, now you're sounding like Ronnie when I beat Ronnie in that. He's like, yeah, but you weren't 170. So I said, no, in my first pro shows, I was about 181 when I beat guys. So, yeah, but it's like, it's hard to, I think Sergio, if he's in shape, he will be hard to beat, but it's not impossible, depending on.
I wouldn't be saying that. Not around. Sean Clarita is a really, really good competitor because he has good shape and structure. He's a little narrow, but he has a teeny tiny waist, and he is grainy hard. You don't want to stand next to grainy hard guys on stage because they make you look bad if you're not at your best.
Oh yeah, if you're holding a film of water and you're standing next to him, you're going to look like you got a bucket load of water. So
you want to talk about a giant killer? I know he wasn't that short, but Dexter Jackson's really a giant killer because he always was outweighed by everyone on stage. And he knocked off some big guys.
Well, look how grainy hard Momo was that time, the Night of Champions, when he beat Dorian and a whole list of other big guys.
He was a giant killer, absolutely.
I think Momo was only like 5'3", I think. So, but I said it's that illusion up there. When Sean comes in, when he's it's like I mentioned before, when I was 199 and after that show I won, people were like, what did you weigh? What did you weigh? I said, what do you think I weighed? Everyone I spoke to had me between 235, 240. And when I told them I was 199, they're like, no, fuck off, because like you said, if you've got a shorter, compact frame with these round muscle bellies that look freaky, if you're in condition under the good lighting, it's such an illusion on someone of that stature that you just look like this ball of mass.
Right.
And if anyone, like I said, beside you has weak points in that, and you're in condition like that, you're going to make them look bad, even though the guy could be. It's going to be interesting because Sergio's like, 6'1". So it's going to be interesting to see Sean beside him. So
Craig Titus, when he won the what did he win, the USA in '97, I think it was, he was so light because he needed to get lighter to be in the best shape of his life that when he weighed in, he was so paranoid that he put like weights in his pockets. He was wearing like a sweatshirt and he had weights in his pockets just so that he would weigh a little bit more. I said, Craig, what do you care? As long as you're in the best shape. He goes, I gotta weigh over 240,
I used to fuck with Steve Neese like that sometimes. Remember Steve Neese when you come into the Coles gym? I'd see him walking through the gate. I'd say to my friend Kurt, get me to 5 kilo weight there and stuff, and I'd put it in my gym pants. Lee, get on the scale. Okay. He's like, oh, I can't believe it.
Well, he put me on the scale because he didn't believe that I was 320. And he took me in from the parking lot. I walked in because I never lied about my weight. I knew what I was. And he's like, there's no way you're 320. He goes, you look huge. I got on the scale, and he's taking pictures. He must have taken 40 pictures of the scale.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, 320, holy mackerel.
You'd carry that little bag around with him. It looked like a little lunchbox. Same thing. You'd go, oh, you're looking big. He'd stand there with his glasses on and look back at you. He'd be like, how big are your arms? I'd be like, 21. And he pulls his little lunchbox thing out, gets the tape, let's measure him. I'm like, okay. But so many guys I'd see in the gym who would say that, and when he pulled the tape out, they're like,
they'd run.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they'd run.
They wouldn't do it. I'm like, yeah, sure, go. I think that's the picture you see me sometimes.
Yeah.
I think Craig Titus is almost there. I've got like a blue T-shirt on.
You
Got
can
the
find
tape around it.
of Lee Priest's arm measurement. See if it comes up. Because I
think I got
know
like
the picture
blonde-
you're talking
blonde-
about. Yeah.
Blonde, spiky hair, and that could be a blue powerhouse.
You were
gym type
really
there,
young
but
in that picture, too.
I think like 22 almost. It's like
Yeah.
the picture I put up the other day of the posing routine at 22. So
Do you have it
but
on your
I had
page, or is
short-
it just on Google? You probably can Google it.
probably Google. Did you I see Cedric's on the list. Has anyone seen how Cedric's looking for this
Now,
show?
that was the next person I was going to ask you about. Now, Cedric is a wild card. I haven't seen Cedric really look like the Cedric of old in the last 2 years. So I don't know if he's better now, and maybe the rest did him good. I know he had an injury. He had a hand injury or something like that. But, is he kind of like at the end of his career, like Tony Freeman was kind of like coming in and placing top 5 at shows just because he had great shape? Or do you think we'll see a Cedric McMillan that's going to be like, holy mackerel, where'd this guy come from?
Well, I think this show will answer that question.
I'm asking what you think. I'm asking what you think.
Well, I haven't seen him, so I don't know. I can't.
Well,
if I'm going
that's
by
what a
luck,
prediction's
well,
about.
he's like-
Predictions are about not based on you seeing him. If you saw him, there's no prediction anymore.
Yes, there is, because how can I predict? Because we haven't seen him for 2 years or so, hasn't it?
I think that if Cedric comes in looking good and Sergio beats him, that gives Sergio tremendous momentum, I think, moving forward. Because
Cedric too is one of those physiques. When he's on, but he's just got to be a little off, and he looks way off. It's just like one of those physiques. Like even Sean Roden, when Sean Roden's on, he's on. But if he just misses it by a little bit, they look like they've missed it by a lot.
Well, Chris Aceto said it best. 2 weeks out from a show, Roden looks like he couldn't win, the Mr. Long Island show. He's the worst guy off season and like before a show when he's depleted. He looks like I said, like the guy has no muscle or something like that. And then all of a sudden, like 3 days out from a show, his body, like as soon as he gets into that grainy conditioning, it like transforms itself. And then you put some tan and some oil on him and you put him under the lights and it's like, who the hell is this guy? Where did he come from? He's the most dangerous guy under the lights. Yeah.
Because who's the main ones? You got Sergio, Sean, Cedric. Regan's doing it too, isn't he? Regan Grimes, is he doing it?
Milos is, I think, got him on the insulin protocol. Yeah.
And who else? No, that's not it. That's not it.
No, there's a picture somewhere on Google of Steve Neese.
Yeah.
Lee's got his arm up like this, and he's got a tape measure around his arm.
Tyler, you're fired. That picture's from like when I was here in Australia. Jeez, that's like we're talking 90s, Tyler. Type in 90s.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Maybe, I don't think Google was around then, but
all you have to do. The great thing about Google is you can put Lee Priest in arm measurement, and it'll probably come up. It's the craziest thing.
But who else was there? There's Regan. So there's one more person, a bigger name.
Yeah, I know that the what's his name, Stan DeLongo has moved up from Classic to Open. He's doing the show. I don't know how he's going to look. He trains
Wasn't there another
Roden.
two?
Yeah.
Who's the other 212 guy that's doing it too? Wasn't there another 212?
You're right. I'm surprised Lunsford wouldn't do the show. That's what I would have done if I were him. I guess he figures he's Mr. Olympia. He doesn't want to risk it. But what's his name? Flex Lewis did that one year. He won the Olympia and he did an Open show and he placed third.
I want to wish my good friend and old training partner good luck. He's doing the Masters, Rusty Jeffers. He's looking good. I saw some photos of him.
He's very deceptive because he's probably one of the best posers of all time.
Definitely.
If anyone's ever seen him pose, I mean, the guy is he's like Ed Corney reincarnated almost.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a great physique back in the day. He always had good shape, and he got better as he got older. It was weird. He got grainier. He got better conditioning.
If you look on, hey Tyler, look at Rusty Jeffers' Instagram page right now. He's got a picture up there, standing there. He's got like a beard. He looks like Santa Claus almost, but he actually looks, as you said, he looks better now than he's looked in a long time, and he has to be.
Rusty Jeffers wins my vote for the greatest mustache in all of bodybuilding, right?
Oh yeah, but he's got the beard now too. If you look up Rusty Jeffers on the Instagram,
Oh, there he is.
There's one of him standing there. Where is it? Down a bit. Oh, there's it doing a lat spread.
He's got a lot of muscle on him still, Lee.
Yeah.
How old is he?
He's in his mid-50s.
Wow.
Have to be.
He always had trouble getting glutes, but he's a really good poser. You can see that shot of him. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, he put up a posing video. Could have been on Facebook even not long ago, and that. But yeah, he gets all those areas, looks clean shaven there. But
I'd like to see. Yeah, he's got the greatest facial hair of all time. If you could find an old one of him with the mustache, he had that handlebar waxed mustache.
Oh yeah.
Blackman would have been proud of that mustache, right?
We had crazy workouts together, Rusty. Even on YouTube.
How did you meet Rusty? I thought he lived in like Arizona or something like that. No.
Yeah, because I moved out to Scottsdale, Arizona for a couple of years.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. We had some of the craziest leg workouts doing giant sets and that. They're on YouTube and that. But oh my God, some of the stuff that we go to the hamburger place, AJ's after. Oh, the good old days. And that's when I was training with Platts as well, because Platts lived in my same apartment building complex in Scottsdale. So
what were you doing in Scottsdale? What were you dating a girl over there?
Yeah, I was living in Texas, then I met a girl and moved to Scottsdale.
Was that when you were with Adela?
Left Adela and went to Scottsdale.
Oh, the only reason Lee ever moved was for a girl. It was always like girls.
I moved for love, Dave. I'm like that TV show, The Littlest Hobo. Remember that Littlest Hobo TV show where little doggy goes around and he finds a family? He helps the family.
Yes,
once the family's been helped, the little doggy moves on to the next town.
Right.
That's
right.
me. Or Benji. Benji did the same thing.
Benji did the same thing. Yeah, exactly. So
No, I think it's going to be a good show because, hey, now that I know the Legion has the Masters, if I ever get my ass back into shape and recover, I could come back and do that's an IFBB show. I've got to get in the good books again there, but I could come back and do the Masters.
You'll never do Masters. You know why? Because it's like the same reason you didn't, you were always an open guy because,
Dave,
you're not
once you get to this age, you take what you can get, Dave. I have no
really?
pride.
You wouldn't do the open?
No, I'll take what I can get, Dave. I'm going for a sure thing. Look, Dave, I've competed in the Open. I've slayed the Giants. Now it's time to move on. It's time to move on to where I fit in, So if I go into the Open, that could be like
the old man division Lee's doing now.
Yeah. Now, what if I go into the Open? They'll
call him the old man slayer now.
Well, no, but it's like, say I go into Open, I could look fantastic, but up against the newer guys, they're like, Lee looks shit. Now, if I go into the Masters with my own peeps, the geriatrics and me and stuff, it's like, even when I look good, they're going to be like, fucking hell, Lee's still a freak. Because look who they're comparing me against, some of the 60s and 70-year-olds, Dave.
Would you like it if they brought back the Masters Olympia? Would that be a title that you'd be interested in possibly winning?
Yeah, that would be good. I think they should.
Yeah, I think so too.
But even then, it would be hard to, because I know Dexter's won it already. He might come back and do it. So there are still, okay, the mass might go, you might be a bit smaller version, but you have to look at some of those Masters guys. The conditioning on them is...
You might get Kai to come back to that, right?
No. Well, Kai's coming back. I mean,
if Roden ever gets through his trial, he could theoretically, I'd do the Masters Olympia too. He's over 40. A lot of guys are over 40, actually. But you never know. Ruley Winkler's over 40, right?
Well, Ruley said he's coming back next year. He apologised for this year and this and that, and he's coming back next year to show everybody he's still got it. Which
I'm glad to hear that he believes that the reason he didn't look his best is because he couldn't really commit because he didn't go to the gym, and that makes me feel better than him just knowing that he tried his best and he just didn't look good. So at least if he really had a reason, that gives you us hope that Ruley will be back at his best next year.
You can tell by looking at him, it's not a physical thing really. No. I could tell by looking at him, it seemed to be more of a mental type thing because he's still got the mass there and stuff. And you know what it's like. You can go through those stages where you're just constantly pushing yourself. Sometimes you're not physically tired, you're just mentally tired. It's like, I'm sure you've done it where you've done shows after a while and you try and get ready for a show. It doesn't matter how much cardio you do, how much dieting, what drugs. Your body just doesn't respond. It's saying, hey, I need a break. Just
you know what, Lee? You can't put muscle on while you're dieting. If he lost muscle because he didn't go to the gym for 3 months, you can't try to get ready for the Olympia and think you're going to put back 15 pounds of muscle. It's not going to happen. You need an off season to put the muscle back on. And I think that's what really probably, from at least what Ruley seemed to indicate, he really didn't have an off season. He kind of just went right into prepping, and so that kind of screwed up for him. So
well, it's like a lot of people here. I know a lot of people here are going to be shit. I should do some shows here because I know Tony was on the Sky News down here, and his gym's been shut for 357 days.
Oh my God, that sucks.
And they're like, "Oh, why don't we just make it a year?" Because I think Melbourne, where he lives, they're going to start reopening next week, and gyms aren't on the list to reopen. It's just like brothels. The brothels are reopening, so you can go get a root, but you can't go to the gym and get your pump on. So it's like, it's just ridiculous. So, and then Tony was on there saying, when we reopened before, vaccination rates are only at 40%, and we reopened. There's never been a case come from a gym. Now the vaccination rate is at 80%, and you're not letting gyms open.
Right.
It's like total bullshit. And like you said, it's mental health. You know, people want to get out, train for physical health, mental health, and they're shutting that down. But the pub's opened up. You can go get a beer, but you can't go work out.
Well, think about it. I mean, Tony made a very good living for himself between the shows he promoted, the gyms he has, and he's basically been completely shut down. Can you imagine if you're a businessman, you're making a very good living for yourself, and they tell you, okay, all your business can no longer function for over a year.
So many.
I mean, that would hurt anyone. It doesn't matter how much money you have. I mean, anyone would be hurt by that. And Tony has taken it pretty well. I got to tell you. I'd be going nuts, you know.
Well, so many have gone under. Well, that was like in the wisdom of our Australian government, because skin cancers, melanomas, and stuff down here. They put so many people out of business. Like tanning salons that had tanning beds. This one Asian girl, she was on the news and she had melanoma. And killed her, and she was saying, of course, I go to tanning beds. But her friends said she used to go to the beach 5-6 hours a day, cover herself in oil and sit in the sun. So how can you blame the tanning bed on the melanoma? So our government shut down every tanning salon. People lost their business because they said tanning beds cause cancer. So you can't have tanning salons. So I'm thinking, what's the government going to do? Stand at the beach and go, excuse me, you there in the red swimming trunks? You've been in the sun for 2 hours. Please come in. Please come in, get out.
You know what, Lee? Knowing your government, they'll probably make you scan your iPhone when you get to the beach now, and if in an hour that you're going to get an alarm going off that you have to leave because.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me. Like I said, it's so hypocritical. Well, let's get rid of tanning beds because that causes cancer and skin cancers. We can't have that, so they destroy.
But you can still smoke cigarettes, though, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So you can go buy your cigarettes, but don't go tanning. It's like it's like. Oh, it's so stupid down here, but what can you do?
I want to send out a good luck to all the people competing at the Legion Sports Fest this weekend.
Yes.
And let's see if the Giant Killer becomes a Giant Killer.
I love Sergio. I hope he wins, but then I do hope Sean's in the top 3, top 2. And if Sergio, you slip, you're going to get killed by the Giant Killer. So,
well, if he loses, he's retiring,
Sergio.
Right? He's retiring,
you
said.
Don't do that, Sergio. Now, if I come back and beat you, Sergio, then retire, because then you got beat by a shorter, older guy, then retire. You and Ronnie can go have dinner together and go, oh, fucking hell, I can't believe you beat me too.
Lee, have a great day. I know your day is just starting. Don't forget that if you want to take a good SHIT, make sure you get your FIBERLYZ. So
it's not even that. It's just about feeling good all over. I feel so much better.
Tyler, you should clip this stuff and make me a commercial with Lee saying this stuff in it.
Yes, and Dave's not paying me either. Like I said, I thought Metamucil was great, and that's why I'm telling, because I know people make jokes. Dave's pushing his product. All those people who are making jokes, try it, and I trust you won't be making jokes anymore. Oh, you probably will because you're freaking idiots, but at least you'll know you'll be taking a good dump while you make the joke. So, and those of you who don't have toilet paper, when you normally use your whole hand to wipe, you only use 2 fingers.
It would work very well for the people in the Middle East who don't even use toilet paper, right? They just use that hose.
Oh, don't get me started there when you go to some of those countries and the bins beside the toilet with poo paper in it. Have you seen that? Like the garbage bin, they wipe.
Oh, in certain countries you can't flush the toilet paper down the toilet.
No.
You have to throw it in the garbage bin.
So it's got
Brazil's like that.
Yeah. See. Yeah, Brazil, yes. And oh my God, when I was at that expo, I was at the expo in Brazil, and you go to the toilet, and it's just like a
he's right.
bin there. Yeah, it's just like someone's been wiping Hershey's chocolate off the floor on this toilet paper. The worst thing is, though, it's the smell because it's not covered. It's just the bin.
And the flies are all over there, like. all right, that's it. Too much information. We ruined a good show, guys. Good luck this weekend. Lee, have a great day. We're at the end of another episode
hold on, Tyler.
Iron Rage. I'm going to go take a little Fiberlyze and go do some pooping.
Hold on. This is for the ad. This is for the ad for Tyler.
Oh, there you go, Tyler. Clip that.
Fantastic. Do you want to like say a little bit too?
Yeah, give us like a slogan or something like that, you know.
Fiberlyze. If you're not regular and you want to be regular, use Fiberlyze. If you're full of shit, take Fiberlyze.